Well, hello there, you Scrub Lords, and welcome back to another episode of Scrub Chats. This is your host, Many Miles Away, and today we're going to be discussing a few things that have come up recently, as well as do a sort of channel update, what the plans are for the summer, and what's going on this coming week. I actually do run a Discord server, and this Discord server is open to you guys to come and join and chat with me. And the idea is that this allows me to interact with you guys on a more personal level. I can chat with you guys, I can type to you guys, we can share ideas and photos, and you guys can make suggestions. And it's all within a relatively controlled environment. So that way I'm not overwhelmed with hundreds upon hundreds of friend requests into my Steam page, and I can still talk to you guys on a more regular basis. I'm on there all the time. I'm on there daily, actually. I check my Discord every now and then throughout the day, and so if there's even a Q&A section in there. Here, let me pull up some of the text channels that we have here. We have the Quality Scrub Lounge, which is for the trusted scrubs, the patrons, tank specialists, researchers, admins. They all get to talk in there if they're part of that role, like I know them or something like that, and are personal friends with me. The admin room, well, that's where all the admins and I chat about certain things. There's a video release channel where I post all my videos automatically. There's announcements for anything that's new, like free games, or say I'm thinking of doing a live stream or something like that, and I'm asking for feedback on something. I'll put it in the announcements. There's general chats, talk about pretty much anything there. We have War Thunder channels, we have a Squad Up channel where you can talk to the whole server and say, hey, does anybody want to play such and such a tier, aircraft or tank or whatever. There's a Q&A channel that is especially popular, and that's basically where people can just ask me questions. You just ping me, just type at Many Miles Away, and type your question, and I will see it, and I will get back to you when I am available. There's also off-topic channels, there's an art channel, there's also a gun porn channel. No porn allowed. But gun stuff is fine. You got a dank meme dump down in there, so if you've got a bunch of memes that you just want to dump in there and make people's day, that's fine too. We've got a weeb shit channel for all you weebs out there. We've got a wereaboo shit channel for all your wereaboos. And we got a vent here channel. And the vent here channel is set up so that way if you are in a game and you are just pissed off and you need to vent somewhere, go to this vent channel and just type whatever. Nobody's going to judge you. So this keeps people from venting opinions and starting arguments and stuff like that in the regular chat, therefore disrupting some other conversations that may be going on. We've got a few rules, and they're all listed in the hashtag rules channel, which I suggest you read as soon as you come in, and read it carefully, especially because, well, I've had to ban, and the admins have had to ban a few people for not following said rules. I'm not going to go through them now, because that would take me 10 minutes to get through all of them. And I really don't feel like reading them all right now. If you want to join, feel free to join. Also, I will also sometimes be hosting events on my Discord page, or on my Discord server, so whenever I do community live streams, so playing with viewers and so on, I will be in my Discord, and you will have to be a part of the Discord in order to participate in those events, because it means I can just sort of drag people into to channels, and we can play a game or two, and then I can rotate people through. It's also much easier on me. That way I can make sure that everybody has voice chat or is able to hear me in real time, especially if I'm streaming or something like that. So that's the Discord channel. I hope you guys join up. I am looking forward to seeing a lot of new faces on there. Now, behave yourselves. This is not a place where you can just go ranting about some sort of racist behavior or something like that. Moving on here to slightly more, I guess more positive things, let's talk about Destroyers this last weekend. So I got the chance on Saturday to stream with Mike Goes Boom and Iron Armenian, and we were playing the new Destroyers on the dev server. And I have to say, right off the bat, that I am thoroughly impressed. Gaijin has taken our feedback to heart, and they have put the effort in, and it is a far better system than it used to be. Especially what they've done with the armament, I definitely approve of. Also, I think Destroyers are an immensely great step in the right direction. And I can't wait to see if they're going to go bigger. I did read the Q&A that just came out today, the day I'm recording this, the 12th, and it does look like they're not excluding the possibility. So I guess the best thing we can do at this point is to give them feedback, leave them suggestions, Now, there were a few issues with it. I know a lot of people were complaining that that torpedo boats had no chance against destroyers. And, well, that's historically accurate. There's a reason why destroyers are called destroyers, because they were meant to destroy torpedo boats. And so if you are attacking a destroyer in open water, expect to be blown apart. I've heard this complaint over and over again, and it really bugs me because, well, the destroyers are doing what destroyers are meant to do. So why are you attacking a destroyer in open water with no cover to hide behind in a PT boat? Also, if you hit a destroyer center mass with a torpedo from one of the PT boats, it'll one-shot it. So, yeah, people trying to take PT boats against destroyers and then complaining that it's not working is... I think that's just people not realizing what destroyers are actually built for, rather than, well, leaving a legitimate complaint, in my personal opinion. So, I mean, the aiming system is kind of what I want to talk about next. And by the way, it's great, by the way, compared to the last one. And I'll get into the firing control systems in a minute here. They need to mess around with the UI a little bit. The Destroyer UI especially was blocking the... It was much larger, it was much better, but it was blocking the chat. Which I'm sure Gaijin will address. I'm not concerned about that at all. And on top of that, it was a bit... After playing it for a little while, when you're only playing 2 destroyers, I understand that there's only 2 in the game so far, but the gameplay got a bit boring. Also, it was pretty clear after a little while that in terms of sheer firepower, the Tribal class destroyer was far superior to the Project 7 destroyer that the Soviets were using, because, well, the Tribal class destroyer has 6 120mm cannons, whereas the Russian destroyer only had 4, and those 4 guns, while bigger, were in single mount turrets, whereas the Tribal class had them in 3 double mount turrets. So the Tribal class could fire the full broadside equivalent of a Project 7 while going head-on with the Project 7, essentially while the Project 7 was crossing the T. Something else I've noticed, which I'm very, very glad of, and something that I always hated about World of Warships, is that crossing the T is actually a thing, War Thunder. If you're not aware what that is, in naval combat, it's a classic maneuver, and it's where one ship is pointing forwards, and another ship goes full broadside perpendicular to them. The idea is that the broadside ship is going to be able to bring more firepower upon that ship that's heading straight towards them than the ship that is directly perpendicular to their side. So, also, it's worth noting that if you get hit by AP, because destroyers have almost no armor whatsoever, I mean, most of the boats in the game, I don't think any of the boats really have any armor thicker than, say, 90mm. The AP shells from either of these 2 ships will be able to puncture the front of the hull and travel the full length of the ship. And if you have a shell, especially an AP round, going down the full length of the ship, you can cause immense damage to the enemy vessel. While angling is definitely a thing, and you can potentially bounce shots, the structural steel that most of these destroyers are built out of is not really any sort of armor. And so you can't expect to survive multiple well-aimed salvos penetrating the front of your vessel and not expecting to take massive damage. Speaking of the damage models, they've completely reworked them. They've gotten rid of this whole idea that every single individual crew member has to be in there, which I imagine would have been a nightmare to place all the crew and make sure they're in all their little compartments and everything. And they got rid of that, and what they did was they tied a lot of the crew to the different compartments of the ship, so whenever a shell penetrates a compartment and it takes damage, you lose a few crew members. In addition, the repair times, or the repair parties, the fire extinguishers, and the flooding system has been implemented in 3 separate buttons. So if you take a hit below the waterline, you will start flooding, and you will start losing buoyancy after a little while, and you have to address that. If you take a hit to, like, let's say your engine room, or like one of your main gun turrets is taken out or something like that, you've got to repair that separately. If you get set on fire, you've got to put those out separately. And it's also worth noting that every time you activate one of these repair orders, it takes crew away from the gun position, so let's say your rate of fire will go down. To simulate these guys going, oh shit, the deck's on fire, get the fire extinguishers, leave the guns for now. And so a bunch of guys will go off and put the fires out for a few seconds, say 12 to 20 seconds. Whereas, say, if you get hit in the engine, same thing. Oh god, we gotta go repair this engine, so a bunch of the guys go down there to repair the engine, and it reduces your rate of fire. And if you activate all three of them at once, it's not just singular, you can activate 1, 2, or all three. That significantly reduces your rate of fire, and it affects you in other ways as well. All in all, I like this system. It forces you to think about what you need to prioritize in terms of damage control, which is a huge part of keeping a ship afloat, especially in a combat situation. Figuring out how much crew you want to sacrifice to keeping your ship afloat compared to how many crew you want on the gun positions to keep fighting. So I think that's a great system, and I'm looking forward to it being further developed and seeing more vessels. The other thing I mentioned earlier was the weapon systems. So now they've split up the weapon systems into 3 categories: primary armament, secondary armament, and anti-aircraft. My biggest issue with the last versions of the test was that I felt like I was fighting my ship's armament more than I was controlling it. Meaning that because you were trying to control all the weapons at once, it was just a matter of point the cursor at the target and hold down the left mouse button until the enemy ship dies. And you would get all sorts of weird things, because what would classify as great as a potential firing position for, say, one of your anti-aircraft guns would have your main battery guns looking at a piece of the ship, and they would have to elevate their guns. So all of a sudden, you'd see your aiming cursor go straight up into the air for no reason, for no discernible reason. In addition to that, into separating these out into 3 different, I guess, categories, the secondary and the anti-aircraft guns are now automatically controlled when you are not using them. They are controlled by the AI, and you can set their priorities from ships to planes to both, and then you can turn them off, which is great, because it means that you can still switch between all those controls. Like, let's say there's a torpedo bomber that you want to support your friendly in taking out. You switch to your anti-aircraft guns. Now, I don't know for sure if you leave the primary weapons, if they will be controlled by the AI themselves. I didn't see anything to indicate that, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case, at least later on. But yeah, let's say you jump to the anti-aircraft guns. Then you can manually control all of your anti-aircraft guns and focus your fire on an enemy aircraft. Or let's say that there's a smaller torpedo boat coming towards you, and your guns are pointed the other way, and they're going to take a while to turn around. But your secondary guns are right there, so you can switch to your secondary guns and focus fire on that torpedo boat. Anyways, it's a much better system. I like it. It allows the player to focus on using the primary armament without wondering why his guns are doing all sorts of strange things. Because you're trying to aim in a certain direction, and the guns are unable to, and it doesn't tell you in the old system. In this new system, since you're managing a lot less guns at once, it's much more manageable, it's a lot more fun to play, and it also has a degree of skill involved. The aiming system, I think, is fine. I know some people were complaining about that. The idea that the guns will automatically calculate the elevation, but you're dependent on actually calculating the horizontal lead, I think that's great. It also doesn't take your ship's movement into account, unlike World of Warships, where it does. So you will sometimes have to aim slightly behind your target to compensate for your shells going. And I think it's a great system. Again, what I'm mostly waiting on at this point is for an expansion to the amount of ships that we're seeing in battle. Granted, it was on the dev server, and it was only accessible for those in the CBT, so the fact that it was on the dev server massively reduced the amount of players available to play this event. Unfortunately, I don't really have much footage recorded, because the only time I got to play this event was on Saturday when I did the live stream, and me and my infinite wisdom forgot to record anything. So, unfortunately, I don't really have any footage here, but there's plenty of other footage up on YouTube already. If you really want to, you can go back and watch my Twitch live stream on that, and you can see some of my opinions there. Also, Mike put out a pretty good video, which I will link in the video description. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic here. And speaking of YouTube and Twitch streams, when I was really setting up to make this video, I was about to talk about how I was leaving YouTube streaming and going over to Twitch. However, Iron Armenian has yet saved my butt. And what he has done is he has pointed me to a program that I actually tested out today called Restream.io. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is anytime I am streaming on my YouTube, I am also streaming on my Twitch. I have set up a few things on Twitch. I have set up some cool benefits for those who want to subscribe. I've got a subscription thing going on there now. I'm waiting to get affiliated for Twitch. I'm not quite there yet. I've got to do a few more unique live streams before I can qualify for the affiliate program at this particular moment. But this will allow people who like Twitch to go to Twitch and watch me there, and those who like YouTube to go and watch me on YouTube there. I will be able to monitor both chats at the same time, so don't think I'm not paying attention. I will be able to read all your questions, regardless of which platform you're on, and so I encourage you guys to show up to the coming live streams. And speaking of live streams, I have set up a brand new schedule. So my new schedule is going to be Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday and Sunday are flexible. I have no particular set time I'm going to be streaming on Saturdays and Sundays if I'm even able to. Also, the streaming schedule will change on a week-by-week basis. Like some weeks I won't be able to stream on Tuesday, some weeks I won't be able to stream on Friday, some weeks I won't be able to stream at all during the week, and I'll have to stream on, say, the weekend. It all depends on what's going on. For example, this week it is extremely busy for me, and I'm not going to be able to stream on Tuesday, the 13th of June. I almost said January, and the 14th of June. So Tuesday and Wednesday I am going to be out, and by the time I get back it is going to be far too late, and I probably will not want to stream at that point. Friday is kind of up in the air at this point. I'm not sure if I will be streaming or not. If I do, well, you guys will get the notifications. And Saturday and Sunday, I can't guarantee anything. I am going to try and stick to the schedule as much as I can. And hopefully, throughout the summer here, we'll be able to pick up a regular schedule for live streams. I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams this summer. I'm going to try and interact with you guys a lot more, do a lot more community events, so custom battles, battles with viewers, that sort of thing. So send in some of your suggestions, leave them down in the comment section, and we'll sort some of them out. Also, moving on to the next topic here. Like I said, there's going to be pretty much no streams this week. Friday is kind of still up in the air. I'm not totally sure if I'm going to be able to. I'm trying to remember if there was anything I had going on that day. I may have to take my car in to get the oil changed, but we'll see. Oh, yes, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about is another Q&A with Dennis. So I remember, some of you may remember, about 8 months ago, I did a Q&A with Dennis, the PR manager over at Gaijin Entertainment Europe. And that went pretty well. And I promised in that video that we would be doing them every few months. Of course, that never happened. And part of that is my fault, part of that is Dennis, but most of it is on me for not pushing out some more questions and gathering some more things. So if you have any further questions that you would like to add, feel free to ask them in the comment section. I will go through them, and if I find the best ones or I find something that really sticks out to me, I will send it his way. I cannot pin down a precise date when I will be able to release said Q&A. I sent him the first batch of questions a couple days ago, and he got back to me this morning. He said he'll take a look at them when he's not working. Hopefully we'll be able to do one of these things pretty soon. Alright, I think I've rambled on long enough here. If you guys have anything else that you are concerned about or have any other questions, feel free to let me know down in the comment section. There will be unicorn reviews over the summer. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. For now, I am thinking of doing the ASU 57. I almost said ASU 85. ASU 57 is most likely going to be the next unicorn review. I'm going to take a step back from the newer stuff, and I'm going to take a step away from the Americans for a little while. As much as I like doing the Americans, their memes are getting a bit stale for my taste right now. I know quite a few people aren't that much of a fan of the whole political memes thing, so I'm going to step away from that, kind of go back to my roots a little bit, and try and just do some really, really hilarious vehicles. So probably looking at ASU, Dicker Max, that sort of thing. So if you got any ASU 57 replays, feel free to send them in. And if you are curious in where to send them in, send them to minimilesaway96@gmail.com. I'll be able to see all of yours. Make sure you send your what mode you're playing, your in-game name, so I know exactly who I'm watching, and send me a short description of the battle, so I can just kind of read through and go, okay, this is what it's gonna kind of be like, and that would help me out greatly. If you guys want to submit replays, again, minimilesaway96@gmail.com, and I believe that's everything. So without further ado, keep your tracks checked, keep your bottoms in place, keep your round on the tube, and I will see you guys in the next video.